Well, hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another one of these mini interviews. I'm Sonia Barrett, the producer of the documentary, The Business of Disease. As most of you know, it was released in 2016, and of course, you can view that film on demand on various platforms. I say, Amazon Prime, because that's usually, the one that everybody kind of runs to, but I think it's Roku as well, and YouTube, and lots of other platforms. And of course, to find out more about the film, you can go to the website, thebusinessofdisease.com. And the emphasis of the film is, the tagline is that the cure is in the body, not in the business, and really encouraging us all to take charge of our own spirit, mind, and body. And when we say the cure is in the body, not in the business, of course, knowing what the ideal ways in which to support the body so that it can do what it needs to do is really the focus. But if we don't have that knowledge, then it's very difficult to support the body in its healing process. So as I said, this is just another mini interview. And so I'm excited to continue to bring you these stimulating reminders. They're short and sweet, but stimulating reminders of tools for health. And again, to encourage you and remind you about the importance of self-care. So today, our featured guest is Dr. Greg Hammer. He is a professor at Stanford University Medical Center, pediatric intensive care physician, pediatric anesthesiologist, and the author of Gain Without Pain, the Happiness Handbook for Healthcare Professionals. And just throwing in one more thing, but I thought that this was a really important aspect, because I haven't really covered this part of it specifically, but I think it's really important to know all that he will share in the next few minutes applies. Anybody can apply it to themselves, but of course, all the caregivers and the just all the people caring whether it be in the healthcare industry or privately caring for someone, listen to these tools. All right. So Dr. Greg Hammer, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sonia. It's great to be with you.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say, what would you like to share with us at this crucial time in how best to manage our health and overall life? And as we said, particularly if you are a healthcare worker or caregiver.
Thanks, Sonia. I think there are two sort of areas in which to focus. The first one is our physical well-being. And I think that the tripod that supports our physical well-being consists of sleep, exercise, and nutrition. And this stuff is all fairly simple. I think a lot of it is intuitive. It's things that we know already, but have sort of pushed to the side of our awareness, perhaps. Sleep is extremely important, as everybody knows. You talk about the business of health. I think that sleep aids are probably one of the biggest selling category of pharmaceuticals out there. Sleep hygiene is incredibly important. And I think especially during and recovering from COVID, people are anxious, they're not sleeping well. And this is sort of a self-propagating loop, if you will, that poor sleep, lack of sleep leads to fatigue. And when we're tired, we tend to pick up foods that are sugary, fatty, processed, because they may give us a very temporary boost. Of course, we tend to crash afterwards. So when we're fatigued, our nutrition suffers. We may be too tired to exercise. And so these things are kind of self-propagating. Poor sleep leads to poor diet, lack of exercise. Those contribute to poor sleep, etc. So if we just simply identify the importance of sleep, exercise, and nutrition, we can begin to make significant improvements in small steps. The other area of import is really our spiritual and emotional health. And as I've written, I think the four pillars of our spiritual and emotional well-being are gratitude, acceptance, intention, and non-judgment. And I can just briefly say that gratitude, which is where we begin, is empirically associated and an essential ingredient of happiness. You can be blind and happy, you can be otherwise physically challenged and happy, you can be poor and happy, but you'll never see a person who's ungrateful and happy. So gratitude is clearly essential for our spiritual well-being, and we all have very much for which to be grateful. The fact that we're here having this conversation, Sonia, is a sign that we're alive today and that we're relatively well today and that we have a place to tune in and communicate and share experience with each other. So we all have much for which to be grateful. We often forget this. You know, we have a negativity bias. It seems to be kind of hardwired into our minds. We tend to focus on the negative and forget about the positive. And the good news is that our brains remain plastic, or we can modify or rewire the way we think. And I believe that this starts with gratitude. And this gets things onto a positive path rather than the negative one, which we are often finding ourselves amidst. The other aspect of our way of thinking, besides this negativity bias that interferes with our happiness, is that we have an obsession with the past and the future. So while it's adaptive to savor our wonderful memories and learn from our mistakes, and it's adaptive to contemplate and think of good times ahead with friends and family, and certainly to plan to put bread on the table. Beyond that, our overthinking of the past tends to be associated with shame and regret, and our overthinking of the future brings fear and anxiety. So once we recognize that we have this negativity bias and this fixation on the past and future, we can begin to address these issues. And it's really not complicated. We can, first of all, be grateful. And I think that helps to rewire our minds toward a more positive outlook. Acceptance is the next element of gain. And it's really essential to not try to resist or push aside things that are associated with pain and suffering in our lives. And pain and suffering is so rampant in the world. I was just listening to NPR this morning, and this new COVID variant, the Delta variant, is so prevalent now in Africa, and very few people are vaccinated, and there's just so much pain and suffering and death. And this is all part of life. And so I think that we need to contemplate the serenity prayer and identify things we can change and things we can't change. And those things that we can't change, those things that are associated with our own and the sort of global pain and suffering around us, we need to accept. And so part of the gain meditation after we contemplate our gratitude is to actually contemplate, as we, with our eyes closed, touching our breath, begin to contemplate things that represent pain and suffering. And we actually envision opening our chest and opening our heart to these things and bringing them closer and closer until we really have merged with them. We often find out that the suffering is not as bad as we thought. There's a formula in the book, which is suffering equals pain times resistance. So we have something painful, whether it's a thought or an experience or a bodily sensation, and if we resist it, we magnify the suffering. And the alternative to resistance is acceptance. So bringing this feeling in, bringing this experience closer, I think is really essential to our happiness. The third ingredient in our spiritual and emotional well-being of gain is intention. And one of the real pioneers of mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn, defined mindfulness as awareness of the present moment on purpose, non-judgmentally. So the on purpose means that we're in charge of our thoughts, and we can rewire our brains if we recognize that we do have this neuroplasticity and this power to rewire our brains. And intention simply means recognizing that and then purposefully addressing it. And one of the really great examples of how intention, with a very simple exercise, can make us happier is a program at Duke called 3 Good Things. And they've studied tens of thousands of people, most of whom have joined the study online. And simply, the program consists of having the participants think of 3 good things that happen to them during the day as they get ready to go to sleep at night. So this is not time consuming. You can do this while you're turning the bed down. And basically, by thinking of 3 good things that happen during the day, again, rewiring our brains away from the negative toward the positive, the participants were shown to have better quality sleep and become happier. And so this is a very great example, I think, powerful example of how our intention can lead us to greater happiness. And the fourth element of gain, Sonia, is non-judgment. And the point is that we are constantly comparing ourselves to others, making judgments of good or bad. And we waste a lot of mindful energy on these judgments, and they interfere with our happiness. And I believe that we can all become less judgmental. For example, in my gain meditation, I actually envision a view of the Earth from space, as we've all seen these incredible pictures from NASA. We see this beautiful orb, and we recognize when we do look at that, that things do not have to be good or bad. The world in which we live is simply as it is. And if we can accept it as such without labeling it as good or bad, we become happier. And we can apply the same thought process to others around us. We don't have to judge them. And more importantly, once we kind of get in the swing of non-judgment, we can look toward ourselves and let go of self-judgment, which is probably the most difficult thing to do, because we all judge ourselves very harshly. Again, a combination of this negativity bias and our tendency to be so judgmental. So those are the elements of gain. And I think as sleep, exercise, and nutrition support our physical well-being, gratitude, acceptance, intention, and non-judgment support our emotional and spiritual well-being.
I love that. Everything you said. And of course, you said a lot of great things in just a few minutes, but I think one of the things that really sticks out for me is the going to bed at night and thinking of those things that you're grateful for. And the reason why it sticks out is because often when we go to bed, instead of going in a restful state of mind to go to sleep, we start processing all the challenges and everything we've dealt with throughout the day. And I like to see it as we sort of cross the bridge into tomorrow with that information, and we wake up, with the same data. That's the reason why that stood out for me. And I think if nothing else, I think people need to practice that one. So our tomorrow, our next morning has a chance to be somewhat different.
Absolutely. I like that way of looking at it, Sonia.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I could talk to you for a while, and I'm sure we'll do a full interview, but this is the mini interview that has these delicious nuggets for people to really use. They're all very simple tools. They don't cost you anything. This is the best part. Doesn't cost you anything, and you can just do it. So I want to thank you so much, and let's make sure that we do give out your website. What's your website?
It is greghammermd.com, GREGHAMMERMD.com.
And the book can be found pretty much, I'm sure, anywhere. Amazon, probably.
Amazon for sure. Yeah. If people are interested in seeing additional media and lots of colorful hints and ways of being, on the website, there's a link for the book as well.
Very, very good. I encourage everybody to check it out. Again, thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
My
And
pleasure, Sonia.
oh, thank you. And of course, to those the viewing at this time, thank you. And you have the website, check out all of that. And I also remind you to visit thebusinessofdisease.com and to check out everything that's there. We even have some great t-shirts that support the topic, support all of this information. And also Health and Inside Job, which is the book that is a supplement to the film, and it's a chapter written by everybody that was in the documentary. It's a really great read, so do check that out. And also for any additional details and for all the other mini interviews like this that we've done, they're all on the website, thebusinessofdisease.com. Well, I thank you so much, and I wish you good health in mind and body. And until the next time that we chat, thanks for watching and do share.